Namaste. I have a question for you. How gullible are you? I have an observation for you. With an element of advice. Watch your thoughts, because they become words. Watch your words, for they become actions. Watch your actions, for they become habits. Watch your habits, for they become character. Watch your character, for it becomes your destiny. If we examine our thoughts, perhaps we will discover that our interpretation of the story of Noah's Ark is based on a fear of what others think of us. Perhaps we are trying to impress someone or please someone with our interpretation of the story. How gullible are we? Do we really think that Noah was instructed to put a male and female of every beast, fowl, and thing that creepeth upon the earth, that breathes through its nostrils, a male and female of every flea, of every fly, of every gnat, of every insect that is immensely smaller than a flea, or a fly, or a gnat. There are some insects we cannot even see. Was Noah really instructed to gather these? No. Why? Because the story of Noah is a metaphor. It's a metaphor. It's not to be taken literally. With that in mind, another statement to prepare us for a mystical, spiritual interpretation of this story. There is nothing outside of us. It is an illusion. There is nothing outside. There is no separation. The water, the rain, the animals, the fowls, the insect, the ark itself is not outside of us. These things are us. Noah himself represents an advanced, ripened soul, ready for its ascension to God. The water many times in the Bible, the voice of God speaking is likened to the sound of many waters. this water, this flood, this rain, it has to do with spiritual energy, chi, prana. This spiritual energy is going to interact with the material world and purge it of its corruption, purify the soul through an action that is similar to an acid burning away the corrupt. In Buddhism, there is something called rain on the lake. It's a sound that occurs to an effective meditator. They hear it, an internal om. It's the sound of many waters. It sounds like a waterfall or rain on the lake. This is the sound of a purifying process in effect. Also, water refers to the yin element. We have the yang, the masculine element, yin, the feminine element. Water is associated with the female. So this water has to do with the purification of the yin element, the purification of our carnal nature, our sexual energy, procreative energy is being refined into more spiritual energy. The ark itself represents a discipline, a strategy, whether it be breath control or working with a mantra or fixed staring, one-point concentration. There is an adherence to this discipline, and the discipline becomes as a wall that is sustained by a force field. It's more of a force field than a solid wall. And this force field is holiness. And the holiness protects us like a breastplate of righteousness. And it protects us from what? From distraction, from corrupting thoughts, corrupting energies. It protects us from our own lower nature. There is a bubble of awareness. And this bubble is pitched from within and without, sealed to prevent corruption. Nothing that is unholy can enter into heaven. And our purpose of engaging in this journey of Noah's Ark is to take the soul and prepare it and then make it rise up so that it can have communion with God. So, we have the instructions to pitch the ark, made of gopher wood. There is no such thing as gopher wood in the ancient Hebrew language. But in that language, G is very similar to K. And so theologians speculate that the actual word could be not a wood that does not exist, but Kopher, spelled with a K, which means to seal or to atone from sin. And so the instructions to make an ark of gopher wood is very simple, actually. Make an ark of pitched wood. Seal it so that there are no distractions and no corruption. So, we have the ark constructed, and then it begins to rain. This is a spiritual energy coming down from heaven, and it starts to inundate the whole world, the whole corrupt world. It starts to purify everything. And the energy starts low, just like in internal alchemy, Chinese internal alchemy. We start with sexual energy being transformed into more spiritual energy. And this happens in what is known as the lower Tantien. This is the door in the side of the ark. We enter into this state of meditation through the lower Tantien. And then the energy starts to purify and rise up. The ark is being lifted up as the floods get deeper and deeper. Energy lifting, becoming more pure. And then finally, what happens? The purification process is over. The raven is let out. The raven, a black bird associated with the dark side of the soul. The raven, after months of purification, is let out through the one window. How many windows were in the ark? Most artists like to portray the ark as having many windows. There had to be light so the so-called animals could see. No, there was only one window. It was only 1 cubit high. An obvious reference to the third eye. So, after months of purification, the black raven is let out. The dark side of our nature has been with us throughout this whole process. But toward the end of the process now, it can be let go of. It goes out the window and doesn't come back. It's not heard from again. The conquest of the dark side. The yin nature, the dark side of the human soul has been conquered, refined into pure light. God is light. There's no darkness in God. There's no darkness in heaven. Even though many people like to believe that, they simply don't want to eradicate corruption from their souls. A big mistake. So the raven being one of the fowls. All of the animals represent aspects of the human being. How would it be possible? We should not be gullible. How could it be possible to gather up male and female, all of the species? It's very possible. It's extremely possible. In fact, it's difficult not to gather up every single species of every single insect, fowl, and beast. It's very simple. We become one with all things. When we become one with all things, everything is us. There's no need to count. There's no need to go and collect, because we are everything. And in this state of being at one with all things, all conflict ceases. There's not going to be a lion hungry looking to eat a lamb. All things are one. There's no conflict. When the one is achieved, all conflict ceases. So after the raven is let out, that part of the soul is purified. Then the dove is let out. The dove represents a higher state of consciousness, much more palatable to to the mind of God. And this dove goes out 3 times, brings back the olive branch, signifying that all is ready now. The human soul, Noah, is qualified to leave the ark and walk with God. How gullible are you? You are as gullible as your dualistic thoughts engender. As long as we see a separation between ourselves and God and the universe, as long as we see a separation, we will not understand spiritual text. We will interpret it in a way that separates us from the true meaning of the spiritual text. As long as we see anything as being outside of us, this is the flaw, the basic flaw in the human soul, which led to the fall of Adam and Eve. Metaphors. But as long as we see anything as being outside of us, there will be suffering, there will be corruption, there will be a need to redeem through a meditative process. I'd like to go back to this idea of the pitch, within and without. That means that we have to seal up our activities, external activities, make them wholesome, and we have to seal our inner world as well. As I spoke of before about watching our very thoughts. So we have this sealing of external actions and this sealing of internal thoughts, and the two together make it possible for the soul to ascend on the purifying, purging waters spoken of in the story of Noah's Ark. Namaste. God bless you.